My child, I see you. Not the version that others interpret. Not the presentation you carry into rooms. Not the role you've learned to perform when strength was your only defense. I see the real you, the tender you, the resilient you, the searching, hopeful, quietly aching version of you. The one who still wakes with questions yet refuses to stop believing. I've never been distant from that version of you. In fact, it's the one I've been speaking to all along. You wonder if your whispered prayers got lost somewhere along the way, between the noise of life and the weight of survival. But hear me. Not a single syllable has gone unheard. Not a tear has fallen without purpose. Not a battle has raged in vain. I was there, in the silence between your sighs, in the breath you held when fear swelled, in the quiet surrender when no one saw your breaking but me. You've mistaken my silence for absence. But my silence is often the canvas where I draw the deepest things. I don't shout over storms. I anchor souls through them. And I've been anchoring you, even when you couldn't feel it. I wasn't waiting for you to be stronger. I was waiting for you to come closer. You thought the waiting season was a punishment, but it was an invitation to come to the end of performance, an invitation to stop running for validation, an invitation to discover that your value was never in your doing. It's always been in your being. Yes, I've seen the parts you hide, the scars you've wrapped in silence, the moments you sat in a room full of people and felt completely alone. I saw the times you showed up when you didn't have the strength, the hours you poured yourself out for others and went unnoticed. And child, it mattered. Every unseen act of obedience echoed through eternity. Every time you chose peace instead of revenge. Every moment you loved in the face of betrayal. You were sowing what I'm now preparing to reap. And now, I speak to the foundation beneath your survival. You are not just surviving. You are sacredly being transformed. The very wilderness you thought was stealing your strength has been the soil I used to root your soul. Every no you've endured was carving space for the yes I am about to release. What once looked like delay was actually divine design. You prayed for purpose. I responded with pressure. Not to punish you, but to shape you for weight. You asked for vision. I allowed obscurity. Not to confuse you, but to protect what I'm birthing. You cried out for breakthrough. I brought breakdown first. Not to destroy, but to deconstruct what couldn't carry destiny. And now, hear this clearly. You are entering a season where the unseen will become seen, where the hidden work I've done in your character will be reflected in the fruit of your life, where your voice will carry weight, not because of volume, but because of alignment. You've been refined for release. Not everything that broke you was meant to end you. Some things were meant to expose you to yourself so I could remind you of me. You've confused exhaustion with failure. But child, even tired faith is still faith. You kept walking even when it hurt. You kept showing up even when your heart wasn't. Sure, that is faith in its purest form. Not loud, not perfect, not glamorous, but faithful. Let me say this over you now. You are not behind. You are not too late. You have not missed it. I am not restricted by your timeline. I'm authoring a story that spans eternity. And every detour, every disappointment, every closed door has been part of the preparation. The enemy told you the wilderness meant abandonment, but I tell you, it meant consecration. He tried to convince you that silence meant rejection, but I was forming in you a depth that couldn't be shaken. He thought the delay would discourage you, but it has only deepened your dependence. You see, I'm not just preparing circumstances around you. I've been preparing you for those circumstances. You've learned to lean, not on logic, but on me. You've learned to release, not control, but surrender. You've learned to listen, not to noise, but to the whispers of my presence. This next chapter will not be defined by striving. It will be marked by rhythm. You won't need to convince anyone of your worth. I've already stamped it with heaven's seal. You won't have to chase doors. They will open because you carry the key. Obedience, you are not random. You are a response to prayers your ancestors whispered, a fulfillment of what was spoken generations ago. And I'm going to finish what I started in you. So now, let your identity rise, not from applause, but from alignment. Let your strength be rooted, not in how much you carry, but in how deeply you abide. Let your voice speak, not to impress, but to invite others into the same freedom you found. Because, child, the fire didn't fail you, it formed you. My child, now that you've felt the stillness, now that the noise has settled and you've dared to listen past the echoes of fear, let me speak to the you that no one sees. The version of you that's hidden beneath responsibility, beneath resilience, beneath roles you never asked to carry but have worn with silent dignity. I want to talk to the hidden vessel, the one I've been refining in secret, the one forged in fires not of your choosing, the one whose strength was not inherited but learned, through crushing, through pressing, through surrender. Let's go back for a moment, not to relive the pain, but to redeem the perspective. Do you remember the moments you thought were failures? The closed doors that seemed like punishment? The relationships that walked away without warning? I was there, not absent, not detached, not watching from a distance. I was in the room when you couldn't speak. I was in the tears you cried into, your pillow. I was the whisper in your soul that kept saying, keep going, when everything in you wanted to give up. You assumed those moments were delays, but they were actually deposits, eternal truths being planted where nothing else could grow. You see, your soul is good soil, even when it felt barren, even when no fruit appeared, even when others passed you by, even when you felt like you were stuck, hidden, unseen. I was cultivating something deeper than visibility. I was growing roots that would outlast storms. What good is a tree with a public crown if its private roots are shallow? You've been buried but not forgotten, covered but not cursed, hidden but not disqualified. Your hiddenness has not been a punishment. It has been protection, because what I place in the open I first prepare in secret. What I anoint to lead I first teach to follow. What I release with authority I first shape through surrender. And surrender, my child, is what you've learned. You surrendered when the outcome wasn't clear. You stayed faithful when results didn't validate your effort. You held on to my name when others questioned your calling. You've grown not by climbing, but by yielding. Not by pushing forward, but by kneeling down. Not by becoming louder, but by learning how to be quiet and still and listen. The world measures growth by height. I measure it by depth. And child, you are deeper now than you've ever been. You are no longer swayed by every shifting wind. You are no longer derailed by rejection. You are no longer defined by applause. That is growth. That is authority. That is why you are now ready. Not ready for man's version of success. Not ready for platforms or crowds. Ready for purpose. Ready to carry the weight of heaven with a heart that won't compromise. You've stopped chasing visibility. Now I can trust you with influence, because the power I'm placing in your life will not be for show. It will be for shift. You will speak, and atmospheres will change. You will walk in, and peace will settle. You will pray, and chains will break. Not because you force it, but because you've been formed by me. You are not rising with a mask. You are rising with scars. And your scars will preach louder than perfection ever could. You are not ascending for your glory. You are rising for my glory. To carry hope into broken spaces. To speak life into weary hearts. To stand not as one who never fell, but as one who knows what it means to rise again. Let me remind you of something eternal now. I never called you to be impressive. I called you to be obedient. And obedience is what you've given me. Even when it cost you comfort. Even when it meant walking alone. Even when it made no earthly sense. You chose integrity over shortcuts. You chose compassion over bitterness. You chose worship over self-pity. And now, your obedience is about to unlock doors that no key could turn. You've been asking me to open the right doors. I'm asking you now to walk through them without fear, to stop waiting for perfection and start moving in purpose. Because what I'm calling you to will not be built in your strength. It will be sustained by your surrender. It will not be defined by speed. It will be defined by alignment. This is not a sprint. This is a sacred rhythm, a daily walk, a divine unveiling. And as you keep stepping, I will keep unfolding. Not everything will come at once, but every step will carry weight. Every yes will echo in the spirit. Every act of obedience will shape eternity. This is the season of visible fruit, but it is still the same root system I cultivated in the dark. Don't despise the small beginnings. Don't overlook the quiet confirmations. This is how I move. Subtly, deeply, powerfully. You'll see it in the way your voice now carries calm. You'll see it in how your presence shifts conversations. You'll see it in the way people say, "There's something different about you." It's not pride. It's presence. It's not performance, it's peace. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are responding to me. And that, my child, is how revival begins. My beloved child, now that the soil of your soul has been softened through stillness, now that the identity I've spoken over you is beginning to take root, let me clothe you, not in armor made from fear or performance, but in a mantle crafted from quiet strength. Because the world tells you to be loud to be heard, but I tell you, your weight does not come from volume. It comes from substance, from presence, from the authority that flows out of intimacy. Let me speak to the version of you that once believed power looked like noise. Let me draw near to the part of you that once felt overlooked because you didn't perform the way others did. That part of you that thought you had to do more to be worthy of being chosen. You've tried to compensate for past pain by becoming more acceptable. You shrunk your voice to be digestible. You hid your wisdom so others wouldn't feel threatened. You dulled your fire so they wouldn't call you too much. But I never asked you to be smaller. I never required you to become palatable for others' comfort. I called you to carry truth, whole, unapologetic, rooted in compassion and power. So hear me clearly. Your strength is not hidden anymore, but neither is it loud for applause. It is mature. It is seasoned. It is grounded. You no longer need to react to accusations. You no longer need to prove yourself in rooms that lack spiritual eyes. Your presence will speak what your words don't need to explain. This is the mantle I now place upon you. Quiet strength. Strength that walks into warfare and doesn't flinch. Strength that hears slander and stays steady. Strength that sees delay and still dances. Strength that carries the word with weight and gentleness. Let the world see the miracle of endurance in you. Not the kind of endurance that limps in bitterness, but the kind that moves forward with peace as its posture. You've come through the fire, not only refined but now recognizable in the spirit. Your scars no longer scream pain. They whisper power. They carry wisdom. They carry testimony. Let me tell you what I see when I look at you now. I see someone who has bled privately and still chosen to bless publicly. I see someone who has lost deeply and still loves deeply. I see someone who has been misunderstood, yet refused to misunderstand others in return. That is divine strength. That is the fragrance of the crushed oil. That is the aroma of someone who didn't collapse beneath the weight but became weight themselves. Let me remind you, you are no longer the same person who entered the battle. You are no longer shaped by the storm. You are now shaped by the shelter you found in me. You are the living evidence of divine preservation. You are the walking proof that silence is not absence, and delay is not denial. You are the embodiment of resilience, of grace, of unshaken devotion. And now I want you to step not with hesitation, but with holy certainty. Not with a heart still rehearsing past failures, but with a spirit anchored in current identity. Because you are no longer waiting to be chosen, you are walking as one already sent. Let's talk about sending now. Because this is not a call to visibility for its own sake. This is not a call to influence without weight. I'm not giving you platforms, I'm entrusting you with purpose. The influence that is coming will not be shallow. It will not be shaped by trends. It will be shaped by tears, by truth, by time spent with me. And this is why your obedience mattered. This is why the season of hiddenness was holy. Because I will not send someone who still seeks their identity in the crowd. I send those who have found their name in my whisper. You are not being called forward to fix what people broke. You are not being anointed to erase the pain. You are being sent to reveal that glory can still rise from the ashes. That healing is not only possible, it's already alive in you. You don't carry trauma, you carry testimony. You don't carry bitterness, you carry balm. You don't carry shame, you carry a story saturated in redemption. And where once the world saw your breaking, they will now see your blooming. Yes, some may not understand. Some will still try to label you by the wilderness season. But you are not going back to convince them. You are going forward to carry others out. Because I did not refine you to sit quietly while others suffer in silence. I refined you so your life would speak. Your peace will preach. Your stillness will shake chains. Your presence will disrupt patterns of fear and anxiety. Not because of what you say, but because of who you've become. I will use your life like a trumpet, even if your tone is quiet. I will amplify your prayers beyond your reach. I will magnify your discernment in rooms you never thought you'd enter. Because when you walk into a space with me, you never walk alone. The weight you carry is my presence. The wisdom you carry is my voice. The compassion you carry is my heart. Let me say this again. You no longer need to prove. You only need to be still, be anchored, be aware of me. This is not a call to hustle. This is a call to holiness. This is not about striving for impact. This is about abiding in identity. The ones I use most are not those who scream the loudest, but those who hear me clearest. So I say to you now, come even closer, not to climb higher, but to go deeper, not to perform more, but to become more present. This is the mantle you carry now, quiet strength, bold humility, prophetic rest. And from this place I will move, not just around you, but through you. My child, now that you've embraced the quiet strength I've wrapped you in, now that your steps are no longer rushed by the need to be seen, but ordered by the assurance of being sent, let me show you what happens when heaven declares a turning point. Because you have arrived at one, this is not just a new season. It is a sacred turn, a divine inflection point where what was buried starts to bloom, where what was tested begins to be trusted, where what was hidden is now revealed in glory. Not because the pressure has stopped, but because your posture has shifted. You no longer fear the night because you've learned how to carry the light. You no longer dread the silence because you've come to hear me there. You no longer wait to be invited because you understand now you were sent. You've crossed over. Not geographically, not visibly, but spiritually. The weight of old disappointments no longer fits your shoulders. The garments of regret can no longer cling to your frame. The chains of shame have broken, not because you forced them, but because you finally let me hold them. And I did. I carried what you were never meant to. The pain you thought you had to suppress. I've been healing it. The questions you thought you had to answer. I've already settled them. The fears you thought disqualified you, I've already stripped them of their voice. And now, child, because you remained, because you stayed when it would have been easier to run, because you waited on me when no one was watching, because you refused to let bitterness rewrite your narrative, I'm about to do what only I can do. I'm redeeming time, the time you thought you lost to confusion, the years that felt like waste, the seasons that seemed barren, the prayers you stopped praying because they felt unanswered, the opportunities that passed you by while you stood still in obedience. None of it was wasted. All of it was woven. Every waiting room was a womb. Every no was a redirection. Every silence was a setup for an unveiling. You did not miss your moment. You are stepping into it now. You're not late. You're not behind. You are right on time for what I designed. And I need you to understand this. What's about to unfold will look nothing like the wilderness, but it will carry the depth you found there. This is why the transition feels unfamiliar, because the mantle I'm placing on you now is not just for the battles you've fought. It's for the people you're about to free. You've learned what fire feels like. You've learned what silence teaches. You've learned how to walk when vision was unclear. Now you will teach others how to stand. Now you will reveal what glory looks like after the breaking. Now your life will become evidence that resurrection wasn't a one-time miracle. It's a rhythm. Let me speak now to the part of you that still wonders, why me? Why was the fire so hot? Why did the betrayal cut so deep? Why did the wilderness feel so long? Because what I'm entrusting to you now cannot be carried by the unrefined. You are not common. You are not convenient. You are not casual. You are chosen. And those who are chosen are changed, not just in name, but in nature, not just in calling, but in capacity, not just in hope, but in holiness. You've walked with me long enough to know this isn't about hype. This is about harvest. I didn't prepare you for performance, I prepared you for impact. The kind that breaks cycles, the kind that heals lineages, the kind that shifts cities, nations, generations, without needing applause. And now, I want to turn your face forward again. Not to look back and prove your survival, but to look ahead and declare your commission, because what's coming will not be initiated by force. It will be stewarded through flow. Flow that comes from faith. Faith that is rooted not in what you've done, but in who I am. You don't need to be ready in the world's eyes. You need to be aligned in my presence, and you are. You are not the version of yourself that once begged for belonging. You are no longer walking with the limp of insecurity. You are no longer driven by the hunger to be seen. You are steady now. You are solid. You are saturated in me. That's why the shift is happening. Not because you shouted louder, but because you finally surrendered deeper. So now let me reveal the signs of the sacred turn, conversations that confirm what I whispered in secret, connections that come without striving, clarity that interrupts confusion, doors that don't require you to knock because I'm opening them. Not because you earned them, but because you obeyed me when it didn't make sense. And I never forget that kind of faith. Let me say this again. You're not stepping into opportunity. You're stepping into fulfillment, not the kind that flatters the ego, but the kind that satisfies the soul. The kind that answers the ache you've carried quietly for years. The kind that makes the waiting worth it. The kind that reminds you, I never forgot, I never ignored, I never left. And now I will do what I promised. You've heard me say it before, but this time it's not just a word for hope. It's a word for action. This is the turning. The sacred, sovereign, irreversible turn of alignment, fulfillment, and release. My beloved, now that the turn has begun, now that your soul is awakening to the sound of fulfillment, Let me teach you how to carry what I am building through you. Because fulfillment is not only about arrival, it is about architecture. You've prayed for breakthrough, and now breakthrough is here. But you must learn how to build from it. I don't bless you just to impress the world. I bless you so you can become a builder of my kingdom, a living tabernacle of my presence, a resting place for my glory. And what I am building through you cannot rest on broken foundations. That's why I tore down everything that was not aligned with my truth. That's why the scaffolding of approval had to collapse. That's why I dismantled false identity. That's why I removed relationships that were never meant to carry what I've placed inside you. You called it loss, but I call it preparation. You called it delay, but I call it design. Now I'm showing you the blueprints. Not for a project, but for a posture. Not for performance, but for presence. You are the builder, yes, but I am the cornerstone. And when I build through you, I don't use worldly materials. I use obedience. I use intimacy. I use surrendered strength. Let me walk you through the pillars I'm setting into place. Obedience over opportunity. My child, not every open door is a divine one. Not every good idea is a God idea. You will be offered many paths in this season, some wide and paved with praise, others narrow and carved through quiet trust. Choose the one that aligns with my voice, not with your fear of being left behind. Opportunity will flatter your insecurity. Obedience will feed your identity. Learn to say no without guilt. Learn to stay still when pressure says move. Learn to follow peace, not popularity. Consistency over hype. The world rewards momentum, but I reward endurance. I'm not asking you to sprint. I'm asking you to remain. Remain faithful in the unseen. Remain grounded when eyes are on you. Remain joyful when results don't mirror your effort. Because I build not with flashes of inspiration, but with the slow burn of consistency. You are becoming a steady flame, not a flickering light, and the consistency of your yes will carry more weight than the volume of your shout. Rest as resistance. In this next phase, I'm not just calling you to productivity, I'm calling you to presence. Rest is not the reward for your labor. It is the resistance to a culture that measures your worth by output. When you rest, you declare, I am not my performance. I am not my platform. I am not the sum of what I produce. I am sustained by the one who keeps all things. You are not lazy when you rest in me. You are wise. You are obedient. You are walking in trust. So breathe deeply. Guard your margins. Make rest your rhythm, because the weight I am placing on you requires it. Community over comparison. Comparison will always try to convince you that someone else's story invalidates yours. But I've not called you to compete. I've called you to build together. There are people I'm assigning to your life. Voices who won't just applaud your gifting, but will guard your soul. You won't have to pretend with them. You won't have to prove with them. You'll walk with them like the early church walked, devoted, unshaken, whole. Open your heart to community again. I know it's been bruised. I know trust has felt risky, but I'm healing you so you can heal others. Don't isolate in success. Don't retreat into silence. Lean in, connect, build. Clarity over chaos. I'm increasing your discernment. You'll start sensing what's from me, not just by appearance, but by alignment. If it costs you your peace, it's not from me. If it requires you to abandon truth, it's not from me. If it forces you to compromise your convictions, it's not me. You are learning to recognize my whisper even in crowded rooms. You are learning to pause before rushing forward. You are learning that chaos is not confirmation. I'm not asking you to have all the answers. I'm asking you to listen well. My child, these pillars are not optional. They are essential. They are not suggestions. They are the scaffolding of what I'm building through you, and what I build cannot fall, because I build on rock, not sand. Let me tell you what's coming. You're going to walk into spaces that once intimidated you, and you'll feel peace instead of pressure. You're going to speak in places where you were once silent, and your words will be wrapped in weight. You're going to be entrusted with strategy, spiritual blueprints to unlock things others could only sense. You'll carry solutions, you'll carry healing, you'll carry revelation, and it won't be forced. It will flow because you are aligned. I'm not just giving you influence, I'm giving you insight. Not so you can rise above others, but so you can lift them. You will recognize the weary in the crowd because you once were them. You will spot the discouraged before they say a word because you've lived their silence, and your compassion will make room for their healing. That is what I've been shaping. That is what I've been building. That is what this architecture of fulfillment looks like. Not a stage, but a sanctuary. Not a spotlight, but a shelter. You are not just receiving the promise. You are becoming the place where my promise lives. Now walk in that. My child, now that the foundation is laid, now that you're beginning to walk in the architecture of fulfillment, let me pour something deeper, heavier, holier into your spirit. The oil of endurance. Because what you're stepping into will not just require clarity, it will require consistency. And consistency is not sustained by motivation. It is sustained by oil, not physical oil, not manufactured favor, but the sacred, pressed, eternal oil that only comes from endurance. Let me speak plainly now. You will need oil for what is coming. Not because it will be hard, but because it will be holy. And holy things must be carried with holy strength. You've already paid a price in the hidden place. Now I'm giving you oil that cannot be borrowed, oil that cannot be imitated, oil that cannot be earned through performance. It only comes through pressing. And you, my child, have been pressed. Pressed in loneliness. Pressed in the silence of unanswered prayers. Pressed in the fire of delayed dreams. Pressed under the weight of obedience when it made no earthly sense. But what came from that pressing was not just pain, it was purity. It was oil, and this oil is what makes your spirit weighty now. It is what causes atmospheres to shift when you walk in. It is what causes others to stop and say, there's something about them. They don't see the crushing, but they feel the consecration. Because you stayed when others ran, because you listened when others talked, because you wept instead of retaliated, because you trusted me with your reputation. Now I trust you with the mantle of the oil bearer. You're no longer just a survivor. You are a carrier of my presence. You are not just stepping into new assignments. You are stepping into a new anointing. And the anointing that's on you now isn't cheap. It came at a cost. But that cost made you trustworthy. Let me explain this clearly. In this season, you will carry a peace that cannot be explained. You will speak words that you didn't rehearse. You will discern things before they're spoken. You will feel the shift in rooms before others notice. Because your spirit is attuned. Because your oil is pure. Because your heart has been made whole through my hands. Let me speak now to something you've wondered silently. God, do I really have what it takes to sustain this? Will I crumble under the pressure of what's coming? Hear me, beloved. You will not collapse, because I'm not giving you weight without giving you oil. And this oil is not running dry. This oil is multiplying as you move. This oil is flowing from your yes. The same way the widow's jar did not run out, your endurance will not run out, because you've been connected to the source, me. You are not moving in your own might. You are moving in my spirit. And where my spirit is, there is not just liberty, there is longevity. Let me show you something. Endurance is not simply surviving long seasons. Endurance is thriving in sustained obedience. It's building when you're tired. It's praying when answers are slow. It's loving when your heart aches. It's showing up even when no one says thank you. And you have endured. I saw every moment when you could have walked away, but didn't. I heard the thoughts you never voiced, the frustrations you wrestled down in private, the weariness you wore behind smiles. I took note. Heaven took note. And now I'm pouring a fresh anointing over every area where you stayed faithful. Let me name those areas. Your mind. Where thoughts of unworthiness once lived, now peace will reign. Your heart. Where betrayal once bled, now love will overflow. Your hands. Once tired from building without results, now blessed with fruit. Your feet. Once hesitant, now sure and sent. This oil is not only for sustaining, it is for activating. You will begin to see the assignments that once intimidated you become joyful again. You will dream again, not just out of desperation, but out of vision. You will begin to see the why behind the wait, because what I've cultivated in you is not light. It is not fleeting. It is eternal. You're not just walking in favor. You're walking in fruitfulness. Favor can place you in rooms, but fruitfulness will keep you there. That is why I taught you endurance. That is why I let you walk through seasons of barrenness, so that when the fruit begins to grow, you will know how to steward it without pride. You will not hoard the harvest. You will not idolize the outcome. You will sow as generously as you once waited, because you know what it's like to have nothing but me. And now that you have me, and this oil, you lack nothing. Let me also say this. I will protect what I place in your hands. I will cover what you carry. And I will guard your endurance with grace. You will not burn out in this next chapter. You will be sustained, and the oil I've poured into your life, through heartbreak, through delay, through obedience, will now flow into others. You will carry oil for the weary. You will intercede with fire. You will encourage with accuracy. You will lead with tenderness and truth. This is what it means to carry my name, not just in confession, but in commission. You are a torchbearer, a carrier of sacred oil, and you are no longer walking with questions about your calling. You are walking with the weight of it, in joy and peace and confidence. So receive this now. You are not weak. You are weathered and wise. You are not tired. You are trimmed and ready. You are not second best. You are set apart, and the oil you carry will confirm it, without you saying a word. My child, now that you carry the oil of endurance, now that the pressing has become power and the fire has become formation, it is time for the next holy movement, the unveiling. You have not been hidden by accident. You have been hidden by design. Your silence was not insignificance. Your isolation was not exile. It was me, placing my hand over you, shielding what was still being shaped, covering what was still becoming consecrated. But now, the covering is lifting. Not because the season was wasted, but because the season has done its work. And what is being revealed now is not simply a person. It is a vessel. A life formed not by image but by intimacy. A voice trained not by platforms, but by prayer. A heart refined not by public applause, but by private wrestling. And yes, the unveiling will surprise people. Because they misjudged the season of your silence. They mistook your stillness for stagnation. They thought the delay was denial, but I was growing a tree, root first, depth before display, substance before spotlight. So now I say to you, do not shrink as I reveal you. Do not retreat when I position you. This is not about performance. This is about presence. And my presence is now resting on you, because it first rested in you. Let me tell you what the unveiling is not. It is not a show. It is not a debut. It is not a moment to say, "Look at me." It is a moment that says, "Behold him." It is a moment where the world won't just see you, they'll see me through you, because I've formed your life to be a mirror that reflects light even after being shattered, a mirror that does not boast of itself, but reveals the one who mended the broken edges. This unveiling will not come with a shout. It will come with a sound, a frequency in the spirit, a sound of alignment, a sound of assignment, a sound that will resonate in the hearts of those you were sent to reach. Because this is not about visibility for its own sake. This is about visibility for harvest. You've been entrusted with keys in this season. Keys to unlock rooms of healing. Keys to open doors of destiny in others. Keys to release strategies that have been held in heaven for such a time as this. You will say things you never studied. You will release what you didn't script. You will pray in ways that pull generations into freedom. Because you are no longer echoing others. You are speaking as one sent. Let me be clear. You are not being revealed to entertain the crowd. You are being revealed to equip the remnant. The ones who have waited in caves, the ones who have battled in silence, the ones who have survived without mentors, without maps, without medals. You will speak, and their bones will stir. You will pray, and their hope will resurrect. You will lead, and their voices will rise. Because your unveiling is not about your name rising, it is about the army awakening. And this is why I allowed the crushing. This is why I permitted the long journey. This is why I said, "Not yet," when you thought you were ready. I wasn't just preparing you. I was preparing them. Your unveiling is timed to their breakthrough, and the intersection is now. So do not be surprised when the invitations come, when the doors open, when the rooms change, when the pace accelerates. You will not be overwhelmed because you are anchored. You will not be seduced by praise because you have been trained in the hidden place. You will not grasp for control because you have learned how to follow my wind. You are not stepping out of hiding for validation. You are stepping forward because I have called you by name, and where I send you, I go before you. Let me remind you, you were never waiting for man's permission. You were waiting for my release, and I am releasing you now. Not because the world is ready, but because you are. You are not fragile. You are not unfinished. You are not almost. You are the evidence of my power. You are the fruit of my process. You are the answer to someone else's prayer, and you will carry this unveiling with humility, not apologizing, not shrinking, not over-explaining, just showing up with oil, just moving with me, just living as proof that resurrection wasn't a myth. It happened in you. Let me also say this. Not everyone will understand this version of you. Some will be confused. Some will cling to who you used to be. But you are not obligated to shrink to ease their discomfort. You are not arrogant. You are anointed. And anointing carries authority, not for domination but for liberation. You will walk with the robe of royalty, but your hands will be scarred with compassion. You will speak with divine boldness, but your heart will carry the sound of mercy. Because the unveiling is not just your moment, it is mine, and I'm using your life to declare, "Behold, I make all things new." Yes, even you, especially you. My child, now that you've been refined, now that the oil has been poured, now that the unveiling has begun, let me bring you into the rhythm of rain, because this next part of your journey is not about arrival, it is about alignment. You are not stepping into a throne built by man. You are stepping into a rhythm formed in my spirit. A rhythm where rest and authority are not opposites, where presence and power coexist. A rhythm where you walk crowned and quiet, rooted in reverence, not in reaction. Let me speak this clearly. Reigning in my kingdom is not about domination. It is about devotion. It is not about being first. It is about being faithful. It is not about building your name. It is about carrying mine. The world teaches ambition, but I have taught you abiding. And in abiding, you will now walk in the authority of rest. You will move with clarity, not because you have figured it all out, but because your feet have learned to follow peace. You will speak with weight, not because of eloquence, but because your words are forged in obedience. You will reign, not with force, but with fruit. Let me show you what reign looks like in my eyes. It looks like peace that calms rooms before you speak. It looks like discernment that silences confusion. It looks like joy that refuses to be stolen by pressure. It looks like love that doesn't demand a stage to prove itself. This is your rhythm now, one step at a time, not rushed, not reactive, not frantically searching for confirmation, but flowing, anchored, aware, and available. You've learned what it means to wait. Now you'll learn what it means to walk with me, because you are no longer building alone. You are building with heaven, and when heaven builds, there is no striving, only strategy. No fear, only fire. No confusion, only clarity. Let me speak now to something deeper. Because even in this new rhythm, there will be whispers of the past, echoes of old patterns, voices that once convinced you to shrink, to second guess, to doubt. They will try to reappear, not to overpower but to distract, not to destroy but to delay. But hear me now. You are not that version of yourself anymore. The one who apologized for anointing, the one who feared being misunderstood, the one who silenced revelation to stay relatable. You are walking as one who has been made whole, one who no longer needs external validation, one who leads not to be seen, but because you've been sent. You don't need to earn the mantle. You are the mantle. You don't need to chase alignment. You are living in it, so now, walk like it, pray like it, decide like it, build like it. Let your hands reflect heaven's order. Let your voice carry heaven's pace. Let your life model heaven's rhythm. And that rhythm is not chaos. It is calm. That rhythm is not hustle, it is honor. That rhythm is not pressure, it is presence. Let me tell you what is coming. Favor that follows you naturally. Provision that meets you before the need. Connections that recognize the oil. Assignments that match your growth. And clarity that leads without confusion. There will be days when it all feels surreal. When what you once begged for becomes daily. When what you once cried over becomes fruit. When the places you were once denied become doors you walk through effortlessly. And on those days, you will not gloat. You will not strive to prove who you are. You will remember who I am. You will give me glory, not because you are obligated, but because gratitude will pour from you like breath. Because reigning with me is not about arrival, it's about remaining in me, remaining in rhythm, remaining in surrender. And yes, you will carry responsibility. Yes, you will lead others. Yes, you will hold more, but you will not carry it in your own strength. I will strengthen you. I will replenish you. I will cover you. I will pour new oil as the days unfold. You are not running on leftovers. You are moving in fresh mercy, fresh revelation, fresh grace. Let me say this again. You are reigning now, not because the world says so, but because heaven has decreed it. And what heaven has opened, no man can close. I did not raise you up just to survive. I raised you to reign over fear, to reign over old lies, to reign over doubt, to reign over smallness, to reign over shame. You will live with open hands and full heart. You will plant seeds and watch them flourish. You will carry healing and leave hope wherever you go. This is not the end of the journey. This is the rhythm of it. The sustained, sacred rhythm of reigning with me. So now breathe, build, believe. And when the world asks what changed, you will not point to platforms or praise. You will say, I learned to walk with God, and in His presence, I became everything I was ever created to be. And that, my beloved, is the rhythm of reign. You are ready. Now go, not to be seen but to shine.